Thank you, Amy. My name is Rick Kramer, and today I'm going to be going over, along with my coworker Matt, Revit add-ins to streamline your workflow. And let's jump right into it. Today's agenda, we're going to be going over our ASTI tools. We're briefly going to go through an overview of a PowerPoint demonstration and then do a live demo. My favorite part. And then we're going to do the same thing. Matt's going to do BIM Connect, PowerPoint overview, and then a live demonstration, which I'm sure you all are going to love. So let's talk about ASTI tools. What are they? Simply put, ASTI tools were designed to increase your efficiency and save you time. First, let's talk about some of these tools. Starting off with the renumber rooms, just as it sounds, it's a tool to renumber rooms. This tool renumbers rooms in the order you select them. You can specify a number to start with, and then the tool increments from there. You can also add prefixes and suffixes, and for those of you who are superstitious, you can even skip the number 13. Renumber doors. This tool makes renumbering doors a breeze. You simply select the order you want your doors to be renamed or have them all done at once. It also allows you to renumber doors by the room into which they swing. The door mark includes the room number and appended suffix. This suffix characters can be either alpha or numeric. We also include an option that omits the suffix if a room only has one door swinging into the room. You'll see this in action when we get into the live demo. For me, this is one of the best features of the ASTI tools. Next is door parameters. This tool right here basically updates the to room and from room parameter for every door in the project, so your schedules accurately reflect the latest changes to door swing operations. The general renumber tool, or the renumber general tool. This basically enables you to renumber any Revit family by type or instance for most Revit categories. These include such things as casework, fixtures, equipment, walls, roofs, floors, furniture, grids, lighting fixtures, parking, specialty equipment, structural columns, foundations, and windows. And in my exercise, I'm going to show you one of the features that I like using a lot, which is renumbering grids. Next is the last but not least is the change case. Over here we have the ability to basically change the case of lettering or of the whole word. Just as it describes, it changes the cases from upper or lower or capitalizes. It also has ability to set custom overrides. So let's say you have a word that says C structural, and you always want that capitalized. Then it might capitalize each word, but then keep in all caps C structure in your detail notes, for example. And this is something that is really, really nice. Next is Model Medic. Model Medic is a really nice application in of itself that finds and fixes problems within your Revit model before they become a crisis. This allows you to basically do a nice deep dive into your project to see if some things haven't been followed. So for example, on the screenshot you see here, it shows that the template was not used in this particular drawing. So as a BIM manager, you can have the ability to really go into your drawings to understand how things are working or not. It also has diagnostic tools. It also has the ability to basically go through and create reports that you can create, and they're saved as a PDF or Excel. So without any further ado, let's get into the live demo, my favorite part. So let me go over here into Revit. And in this application, what I'm going to do is basically go through and start with a generic architectural template. One of the things I really, really like to do is just show everyone how easy this is to use using just a regular architectural template, which is available. We're working in Revit 2018, and what I'm simply going to do is add some walls. I'm going to come over here and add an exterior wall. Add some interior walls. Do, 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 do. Okay, and then, whoops, and then we'll come over here. We'll add some doors. Okay, and last but not least, we'll add some rooms. And I'll go ahead and just place rooms automatically. Okay, now here comes the fun part. Let's go ahead and save our work, and I'm going to go just call this sample. Oops. Desktop and save. All right, easy breezy. So you have a drawing over here, and the first thing that we need to do is, let's say we need to go through and renumber all of these rooms. All we have to do is go to our built-in ASTI tool, and we'll start off by looking at the renumber tools. The renumber rooms tool enables us to start renumbering from any point. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and tell this to start at 200. Maybe my drawing is at the second level. I'll go ahead and click on Start Renumbering and start over here and simply go across, selecting each one of these rooms. When I'm done, I'll hit the Escape key and click on Accept, and I'm done. It's just that easy. So here's 200, 201, 202, 203, 204, and 205. But take a look at the doors. The doors have to be renumbered as well. Well, that's easy enough to do. What I'm simply going to do is I'm going to jump over here and click on the Renumber Doors tool. I'll click on that. All I have to do is basically click on Renumber All by Room. Click Accept. Click Close, and take a look. All my doors have been renumbered. 201, now take a look. 202 has 202A and 202B. Any of these rooms that have two doors that are leading into the room will automatically have the A and B. You're going to say, okay, what if, and you have a change, and you know, we never get those kind of changes, right? Over here, let's say we have another room, maybe another set of rooms. And I'm going to add another door and yet another door. And we'll come in here and add a couple rooms. Now I have to go through and renumber all the doors and all the rooms. Well, that's easy enough. All I'll have to do is simply go back to the ASTI tool, click on Renumber Rooms, start with 200, click on Renumber, and go through the case again, starting with 200, then 201, then this one, and this one, and this one, and I want you to pay attention to what happens to those doors as well. And when I'm done, I'll hit the Escape key and click Accept. Click Close, and take a look. 200, 201, 202, 203, 204, 205, those are fine, but our doors did not update because that is something that has to be done as a second part as the door renumber tool. So I'm going to simply go ahead and click on Renumber Doors. And watch this. I'm going to click Renumber All by Room, Accept, and Close. 201, 201, 202, 202. It's just that easy. Now we're going to add some additional doors. I'm going to come over here and add a door. And I'm going to go ahead and just place a couple here. 1, 2, 3. From 200 out. And this shouldn't be 204, 205, 207. It's easy enough. Let's go to the ASTI Tools, go to Renumber Doors, Renumber by All Rooms, Accept, and Close. Ta-da! 200A, 200B, 200C. It is just that easy. I got to tell you, I love the fact that I can go through and renumber and renumber rooms and doors just that easy. Now, let's talk about change case. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and add a simple annotation text. I'm going to come over here simply and just do a little exercise, and I'm going to say general contractor to be ... and hit close. Let's zoom in on that. You'll notice it's in all lower caps. Couple of things that I can do is I can go over here to the ASTI Tools, go over here to change case, and over here I have the ability to do different things. You'll notice I did all lowercase. In this case, if I want them to be all uppercase, I'll select uppercase, select the text, and click on it. Now if I want to go back and change it to capitalize just each word, I can select that, click on select note, click on this, and it capitalizes the first word, the first letter of every word. This is awesome. This is really, really easy. I'm going to go ahead and click close. Now keep in mind, one of the things within Revit is if you click on here, you can actually convert this all to just all caps, but that's all you can do within Revit. You can either go to all caps or lower. So what we want to do is basically use the Revit tool not to go and do everything in all caps, but use our ASTI tool instead to change the case. See, just that easy. Now, let's talk about the general renumber or the renumber general. For this exercise, I'm going to go ahead and add a grid. And here's one, and I'm going to go ahead and copy that a couple times. So in this exercise, basically, let's say we go through and we place our grids over here. We come back and we figure out that this grid really needs to disappear. So does this one here. And what we need to do is renumber this. Simple enough. All we have to do is go to the Renumber General tool. Over here under the drop down, we have the ability to select different type of elements, one of which is grids. I'll select grids. I'll go over here and tell it to start with a number, in this case the number 1, and click on Start Renumbering. When I do that, I need to go in the order in which I need to renumber these. So I'll start with number 1, then number 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'll hit the Escape key and then click Accept and then close. It's just that easy to go through and make those changes. So you don't have to go about the old-fashioned way of clicking inside here and making those changes. It's very, very easy. Next is door parameters. When we click on this button right over here, basically it's going to update if there's any doors that need to be updated because of the swing direction. In this case, none of them needed to be updated, so I can go ahead and close that. Had I switched some of the doors swinging out, it would go ahead and fix that, but in this case, I don't need to. Next is the model medic. To explain what the model medic is, I'm going to go through an example of bringing in a CAD file. In this case, I'm going to go to Insert, and let's go ahead and link a CAD file like we would normally. I have a sample over here of a drawing. I'm going to go ahead and bring it in. Now, this drawing over here is a CAD file. It could be your site plan, it could be a detail, it could be any CAD file you want. In this case, what I want to do is I'm going to show you something where I copied this, and sometimes we might have the ability to accidentally place one on top of the other. Now you'll notice Revit does not give me any type of warning or error message saying, hey dummy, you have two things on top of each other. This is where Model Medic comes in. I'll go to the ASTI Tools, and one of the many features of Model Medic is to determine if I have a duplicate. Over here you'll notice it says loaded CAD files, and here are duplicate ones. Anything with a red basically tells me there's an issue. When I click on that, on the right-hand side, it gives me all the information. It says, hey, there is a duplicate instance, and it is set to yes. These settings are controlled over here by the settings set warning conditions. Over here, we can set, for example, all the loaded CAD files to either give us a red warning, a yellow warning, or to ignore it altogether. I've decided to change mine to red instead of the default yellow. So if there's a duplicate CAD file, which there is, it'll go ahead and show me that in all red. Also, such things as if the file is hidden and no one can find it, it will show that file as being hidden, and you can automatically, under Actions, unhide that in that particular view. This is really, really helpful. Also within Model Medic, you have the ability to create a report. If I click on this over here, I can generate a PDF or Excel report. So that is really it for ASTI Tools. I hope you've enjoyed ASTI Tools. And next is going to be my friend and coworker, Matt. Matt, take it away.
Thank you, Rick. Okay, so I'm going to talk about BIM Connect, the other half of this presentation. BIM Connect is essentially a tool that allows you to import and export data between Revit and Excel. So there's maybe a case where you'd like to edit the data in a more efficient manner than what we can typically do in Revit, and Excel a lot of times will serve that purpose. Some typical use cases, project management. So you may have a project manager that wants to review some of your project standards. You can export a lot of that data out so it's easily reviewable and editable. That's the critical thing here. Not only can you review it, but you can also edit it and bring it back into Revit to make changes. Also, I'm going to show you an example actually of this one, architectural programming. It's a really handy tool for doing some basic space programming at the very beginning of an architectural project. And also data exchange with non-Revit applications. So you may have an application that doesn't talk directly to Revit, but can read Excel or text data. Again, you can export the data from Revit and then format it so that it'll work in your other application and suck it into that particular tool. Real critical here is this also allows people who are not Revit users to participate in a Revit project. So you may have people that need to access the Revit data that don't have Revit, and they may need to actually modify the data and then pump that data back into Revit. Again, just about everybody has Excel, so if we can export it out to Excel for them, they can participate. Maybe they're purchasing people, maybe they're estimators, maybe again it's a project manager that just doesn't want to get into the Revit model to do the work that they need to do. So some basic features of BIM Connect. Again, we can import and export between Revit and Excel. We can also create new geometry, new rooms and sheets outside of the Revit environment. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you a little tip, a little trick to actually create a new door type outside of Revit. We can also do more efficient editing of element and type parameters. We can edit, make mass changes, for example, like search and replace, that kind of thing. We also have some new features in the BIM Connect 2018 version. So new for 2018, we've made some improvements to the user interface to cut down on human error potential and the ability to save profiles of exports. In other words, when you choose the data that you want to export, you can save that. So at the next time, maybe you've got a particular export that you do on a weekly basis. You can simply load that profile up on a weekly basis and export it out without having to re-specify everything that you want to grab. We can now sort on any column in the grid editor of BIM Connect. So when you'll see in the demo here in a minute, when I begin to export data, I actually get a preview of it in a grid editor, and I can actually edit in that editor if I don't want to take it out to Excel, but I can also pre-sort the data before sending it to Excel so it's organized better for me when I do get it in the Excel worksheet. We've unprotected the Excel worksheet. Earlier versions of BIM Connect made sure that anything that is a non-editable parameter in Revit, for example, the room area, that's something that's calculated. You don't edit it as a user. Well, in earlier versions of BIM Connect, those cells were protected so that you wouldn't edit them. Well, when you do that, you disable some of the powerful features of Excel, like search and replace. So we've unprotected those cells. If you do accidentally edit an uneditable cell, Revit will just ignore it when it comes back in, so it won't cause any problems. But now we've freed up Excel to be able to use some of its more powerful editing and searching capabilities. We've also added an additional module to BIM Connect called BIM Connect Pro, which builds on the saved export profiles to allow also for automated unattended exports. So again, if there's a particular export that you run on a weekly basis, you can set it up on a regular schedule, say 10 o'clock on a Friday night. So all you have to do is make sure that your computer is turned on, you're logged in, you can be in a lock screen or whatever, and this will run unattended and generate your export files so that you can then come in the next morning and review that information in Excel. So BIM Connect will be on the same ASTI ribbon panel that you just saw Rick using for the ASTI Tools. It's got two tools, the export tool and the import tool if I'm bringing data in from Excel. Both of them are very easy to navigate interface, very similar interfaces. And in the export tool, again, we have the choice to either export the data to Excel or edit it right in the grid editor. So you don't actually have to take it all the way out to Excel if you don't want to. Sometimes you just want to use the grid editor because maybe it's a little bit more efficient than, say, working in a schedule or working graphically in the model. And if you do choose to work in the grid editor, again, it's an improved interface. And I'll talk about some of that once we get going here with the live demo. And again, I'm going to show you this particular example specifically. I think it's pretty compelling. It allows you to do some basic programming completely outside of Revit. And then once you set up your program information, import that into Revit to streamline the creation of your rooms and then the checking of areas and so forth against your program. Anytime you do an import from Excel or from the grid editor, so anytime you make any changes with BIM Connect and then modify the Revit model with those changes, you'll get a report that will show you what succeeded and what failed. So there's a variety of reasons for failure. Could be that you entered a type name, for example, that doesn't exist. Well, Revit won't work with that, and you'll get a notification that, hey, these things didn't work because of these issues. Now, in this particular example, everything was a success. Anything that is a cyan color basically is a change that was made. Anything that is green is something that was added successfully. And then again, we have the automated export that allows us to set up a regularly scheduled series of exports from various files. So with that, let's go ahead and do a live demo. So I'm in a Revit project here, just on the cover sheet, and we see that there's been no project information input, and we've got basically sheets 1 through 8, and I would like to add some more data. Now again, I could do this in Revit, but if I've got a lot of data to add, it might be more efficient to do it somewhere else. So I'm going to use BIM Connect. I'm just going to go to the Export Model View tool. And this is the BIM export screen for BIM Connect. Now the first task is to choose what it is I want to export. And there's a variety of options here. I can choose a specific view, so I'll just grab a cutaway view here. And when I go to the next tab, the Table Profile tab, it'll show me what's available for export. Essentially, it's just looking for anything that exists in that view. If it doesn't exist in the view, it's not available. I can also export the current view, or I can simply export the entire project. I don't want to export an individual view. I want to export data about objects that exist anywhere in the project. And again, this will give me quite a few more choices. I can also export element types. So you'll notice right now, I have doors, for example, but no door types. Well, if I choose element types and add those to my export, now I'll see not only doors, but door types. In this example, I don't want any of that. I want non-model elements. I want sheets and I want project information. So I'm going to check that on, clear the other choices. And again, all I'm interested in are my sheets and my project information. So I'm going to expand out project information and select it so that I can begin to see it in the grid view, and then just turn on the information that I'm interested in. So in this case, I'm interested in the client name, the project name, and the project number. That's all I really care about at this point. And I'll go ahead and make changes right here in the grid editor. I could send this out to Excel, but in this example, I don't really need to. So I'll just go ahead and make a couple of changes here. I'll learn how to spell. And put in a project number. And then likewise down here with the sheets, I'd like to add a couple of sheets. So again, I'm going to turn on the sheets. I do want the name and the number available. I also want to specify the sheet set because I'm using that as a sorting mechanism. So I want to make sure I specify that. That's actually a custom parameter. So BIM Connect will read any parameter that you've created in Revit, whether it's built into Revit or it's one that you've customized. I'll just add a couple of sheets. And we can copy data from one cell to the next. And then I'll import this back into Revit. And when I do the import again, Revit wants to generate an HTML file, which will be my report. And I see that the project information was changed successfully and the 2 sheets were added. And sure enough, we see here the project information has been added and we have the 2 additional sheets. So that's a real simple example. Let's make things a little bit more interesting. I'm going to go to the level 1 floor plan view and take a look at a few things here. First off, again, I'll go to the export model view. And in particular, I want to look at door information. So now I'm going to go to the entire project. And I'm also going to turn on element types. And we'll go to take a look at the tables. So again, I'm interested in doors. So we'll expand out doors. And in particular, I'm interested in the family and type, and the mark of the door, the level that it's on. I'd also like to look at the frame material. And if I go to the door types, in particular there, again, I'm interested in the family name, the type name, and maybe the fire rating. And then finally, I want to look at rooms. And with the rooms, I want to toggle on the number, the name, and the department. So let's go back up here to the doors. And looking at the doors, I'd like to sort these on the level. Makes it a little easier for me to see what I'm looking at. So I'm looking at all the level 1 doors here. This one here I think might be a problem, but I don't know for sure which door exactly that I'm looking at. So just like with the schedules in Excel, I can locate this door in the project. If I just slide my BIM Connect window off the screen a little bit, or if I minimize it, it should then zoom to that door. There we go. So I can confirm now that that's the door that I'm actually interested in. And I realize that that might need to be a little bit wider door to be up to code. So I'm going to go ahead and change it. Now, earlier versions of BIM Connect would require me to physically type in the name of the door type here. You'll notice that the type name here is grayed out. It's just telling me what type that is. To change the door, I have to choose it from the drop-down list. I can only choose from actual families and types that actually exist in my project. So it's saving me from making a typographical error that would cause that edit to fail. And then I'll go ahead and change the frame material here. So I'll just make a little change there. And let's go double check that door type, the single flush 36 by 84. So I'll go down to my door types, and I see that the single flush 36 by 84 doesn't have a fire rating. So let's go ahead and give it a fire rating. And then finally, I'd like to come down here and add a room. So I'm going to go ahead and add an element, and we'll just make this room 316, make it a lecture room, and give it a department of training. Now I'm going to take all of this data, the rooms, the door types, and the doors that I just modified, and again, import that back into Revit. And again, I'll get the same report. I'll just overwrite the other one. And again, I see that all my changes looks like they were all successful. And if we take a look, sure enough, this is now a 36 by 84 door. The frame material is steel, and if I look at the type properties, we should see now there's a 2-hour fire rating. Now with the room, I've got a little bit of a problem. If I go to the room schedule, you'll see that it did add the room. Now, of course, it doesn't place the room. It doesn't know where it's supposed to go. So it's an unplaced room that I can then use later on. But I really intended this room to be grouped with these other rooms, and I got the department name wrong. But then looking at this, I'm thinking, well, you know what? I think I would rather the department be training rather than instruction. Now I've got to go edit all of these rooms and change their department one by one to instruction, and that could be somewhat time consuming. But this is where Excel comes into play. If I go back up to the BIM Connect tool, do an export, and it will export a variety of information. I might want to do a few other things while I'm working with these rooms. And so I've got a saved profile up here that I've already run. I'm going to run it again. So I'm going to click on Open under Export Profile, and I'll export my doors, my door types, and my rooms. And the profile saves not only the categories of objects that you want to export, but also the specific pieces of information about those objects that you may want to export. So I don't have to export everything if I'm not interested in that. So the doors here, just to make them easier to edit in Excel, I'm going to go ahead and sort them based on the family and type name. And then the door types, well, let's just go ahead and sort those based on the family name. And the rooms, Let's sort those. Since I'm primarily interested in the department name, let's go ahead and sort those on department. And now, instead of editing in the grid editor, I'm going to export to Excel. So I'll specify a file name. I'll just take the default. And we see that every category that gets exported has its own worksheet in Excel. So it's very easy to keep it organized. And you'll notice it kept the sorting that I had in the grid editor. So again, it makes it much easier to organize the data for editing. So if I go here to door types, for example, here's a little trick. I can actually create a new door type in Excel. This is not in any of the documentation, I don't think. It's something I actually discovered by accident. It's kind of a neat trick. Basically, I'm going to take this row here and I'm going to add another door type to this single flush door family. I'm going to copy this row and then paste it. And the key here is to take the element ID and just change its value to a -1. If I don't change the value, it sees the same element ID as this family type, and it basically would fail. It would give me a warning, an error code saying that I had duplicate element IDs. It wouldn't have added this door type because it doesn't want to overwrite this one. In this case, it'll recognize this as a new door type, and it will assign it a new element ID. I'm going to rename this to 24 by 80, and we'll change the size here to 2'0". And give it a new door mark because we don't want to get that message that the elements have duplicate marks. Now over here with the rooms, I need to change everything that says instruction to training. Now it'd be pretty easy here. I mean, I could just change this value here to training and then just copy it to the other cells, but I want to make sure I capture all of them. So now with the unprotected cells, I can run the find and select utility. We couldn't do this if the cells were protected. I'll go to find and replace and say I want to find every instance on this worksheet of instruction and change it to training. I'll replace all. Done it. Now I'll simply save the Excel spreadsheet. And then back in Revit, I'll do the import elements routine, grab my spreadsheet, and then preview the data. So here I see, I didn't really make any changes to the doors, but here on the door types, I see that it is recognizing my new door type, and it's recognized my changes to the rooms. So here's the training. I'll go ahead and import this to Revit. And I'll get my report. And we see, sure enough, it's added the new door type and it's made changes to all those rooms. So if I go back to my room schedule, we'll see it's now, everything's resorted now under training instead of instruction. Much quicker to edit massive, make mass changes to lots of objects in Revit. Okay, so now let's do another use case. I'm going to close this file. And in this file here, I've just got a simple little floor plan and I want to place some rooms. And you'll notice I've got a room schedule created with a custom parameter called program area, but nothing's been entered yet. And if I look at my floor plan here, it's a real simple little example. No rooms exist in this project, and I want to go ahead and set it up with program data and rooms that I can add to allow me to start meeting my program needs. So I'm going to use BIM Connect to do that. So I'm going to go to the ASTI toolbar, select Export Model View, and even though I don't have any rooms in the project, when I click Element Types, it will show me rooms. Oops, sorry, not Element Types, wrong one. Let's try entire project. There we go. There's no such thing as a room type. So even though I don't have any rooms in the project, it'll still show me rooms. And so in this case, I'm interested in the number, the name, and we want the department. Oh, don't really need that. But I do want the program area. So I want to grab those values, number, name, and program area. We'll go ahead and export that out to Excel. There's really nothing to export. All I'm doing here is making sure that I get the proper formatted Excel spreadsheet. So now I've got the headers that I need, where BIM Connect is expecting to find them when I do the import, and now I can input data. So I'm going to go ahead and just start with a room number here. We'll give it a name. And then the required area for that room, we'll just make 120 square feet. And I'm just going to take that row and copy that. We'll just make a few copies here and just change their numbers. And I'll make one more little change to this last one. We'll make this a manager's office and give them a little bit more square footage. So we'll make that 200 square feet. I'll go ahead and save this file, and we'll import this back into Revit using BIM Connect. So now I see the data, preview it, it all looks good. We'll import it into Revit, take a look at the results. We successfully created, 6 new rooms. Now, of course, the rooms haven't been placed again, but you'll notice if I go now to my schedule, my room schedule, they are there. They're not placed, but the rooms are there. So I don't know if you've ever used this function of Revit, but this is actually kind of handy. Now I can go over here to the room tool and start ticking these rooms off of my list. And I'm just using BIM Connect to kind of streamline this a little bit, along with that custom parameter. And we'll place that manager's office. And now I can go over to my program schedule and see where I have met my requirements and where I haven't. And I've got a little formatting code to color code those red where I haven't. So that's just a real simple example of where you can use BIM Connect to do some programming outside of Revit and then bring that data back in. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you here is the automated export. So I'm going to go back to BIM Connect. Now, this is a little tricky. I want to try to set this up so that it runs right after I get out of Revit. So I've got to time this right. But I'm going to go to Export Model View, and we'll go to Setup Automation and set up an export. So we want to select the Revit file. We'll choose the one I was in earlier. And then what profile do we want to export? And maybe I'm a project manager. I want to review all of the type definitions that are in this project and make sure they're all up to standards. And then I'll tell it where to save the export report. So we'll just put that in the same folder as my presentation here. And then tell it when to run it. So I want to run it on a regular schedule every, let's see, today is Tuesday, and I'm in San Antonio. It's 12/11. Let's see if I can get this going correctly. I'm going to go ahead and set this to 12/12 and some change. So about 12:30. That's good. Now I better hurry up. Let's see. I'll go ahead and do that and close out of everything. I can go ahead and close Revit. And if I did it correctly, we should see Revit launch here in just a few seconds. This is the hard part. I got to wait till 12:30. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and start a summary here of what we've discussed in our little presentation today, and then we'll wait and see if this thing launches. So again, Rick showed you ASTI Tools. He showed you the Renumber Rooms tool, which allows you to number rooms in the order that they're selected. And then the really powerful Renumber Doors. That's my favorite as well, which allows you to number the doors according to the room that they swing into. And then the door parameters tool is real handy if you're scheduling doors based on the room that they swing into or swing out of. That allows you to make sure that that schedule is updated properly. The general renumber tool for renumbering column grids, and it looks like I must have got something wrong in that scheduling tool. I'll take a look at that in a minute. And then the change case tool for updating text, and then Model Medic was real handy for just doing a quick analysis of your model to find any potential problems. And then I showed you BIM Connect with the improved interface, the ability to add both sheets and rooms, editing in the grid view, the sorting on any column, again, the unprotected Excel worksheets. That may seem like a small thing, but it really opens up a lot of editing potential for us in Excel that we didn't have before. The find and replace in particular. Use case programming is a perfect use case for BIM Connect, but also any other situation where you have people that need to input data for a Revit project that don't have Revit. It's perfect. The automated export, which obviously I got something wrong because I was in a hurry. I probably did not save it. So when you do that setup on a schedule, you have to click that little button in the upper right corner to save that, and I probably in my rush didn't do that. So I'm gonna hold off on going back and fixing that, but trust me, it works. Trust me, I'm in sales. So with that, we're gonna open it up for questions. One question that typically comes up at this point is, where do you go to get these tools and how are they available? So I'm gonna go ahead and show that to you. Go ahead and launch my web browser here. And I'm going to go to our website. So if you just go to www.asti.com, and once you get on our website, just go to, somebody feed the squirrels. There we go. We'll go to products. And it's all alphabetized. So here's ASTI Tools, and here is BIM Connect. You can just click on those links. You can download a trial. They will run in Revit 2016, 2017, and 2018. I believe there's separate installers for each version. You can run them in a trial mode for a short time. If you are a subscription customer of Applied Software, these tools are available to you at no additional charge. You simply need to contact your account representative to get the license key, and that will be provided for you, again, at no charge. If you're not a subscription customer, you can still purchase the tools. Just get in touch with us and we can get with you on pricing information. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Amy and we'll take any questions that anybody might have.
All right. I think you may have already covered this, but I will ask just in case. Can Excel be exported back into Revit? Is this workflow back and forth?
Yes, and that's what I was showing in the last two examples. So where I exported the doors and the rooms, and I created a new door type as well as modified some room information. So yes, you can certainly do that. That's the whole point, is being able to do it both directions.
Great. And what versions of Revit does this work with?
Yeah, again, that's 2016, 2017, and 2018. You should be separate installers. When you follow those links, there should be a download link for each version so that they are separate, but they'll run in any three of those. All
right. And with BIM Connect add-in, Revit can redraw room size in my project. So can you redraw the room size with this add-in?
No, and partly because it wouldn't know how to redraw it. I mean, even if you could change the area parameter, it wouldn't know, there's no intelligence to tell it where to, obviously a wall's got to move somewhere, right? So which wall would move? There's no way to tell it that, but it's kind of irrelevant because the area parameter in Revit is a protected parameter. Even if, that parameter is open for editing, you can edit it in the Excel spreadsheet, you can change the area, but Revit will just ignore that when you import it back in because it's a non-editable parameter in Revit itself. It's controlled by the actual layout of the room.
Great. And Andrew says, thank you for the demo. And if the presentation is available for download, send the link and we will do that. You all will receive an email tomorrow morning with a link to this recording, as well as the 25% off coupon for Live Lab Learning course. So we'll get that out to you in the morning. Not seeing Model Medic in the products. Where can this be found?
Model Medic is actually part of ASTI Tools. So when you download ASTI Tools, you get Model Medic as well.